What's up, yappers? Today's episode is all about Motorheads on Prime Video. We yap all about this teen drama's sky-high music budget, some confusing plot lines and plot holes, such as why was Sam so surprised that Christian met up with Logan? Some teenage love, and an epic game of F, Marry, Kill. Are you ready to rumble? Let's get started.
Hello, fellow yappers. I'm Ruchi.
And I'm Shalini, and we're your hosts of Binge, Yap, Repeat.
We're two best friends who spend an embarrassing amount of time binge-watching TV, and honestly, we just need to talk about it. If you're here, we're guessing you do too.
Fair warning, this is a spoiler-friendly zone. We will be discussing lots of spoilers. So, if you haven't watched the show yet, hit pause, go binge, and come back when you're ready to yap with us.
And now, it's yap time.
Ruchi, I haven't seen you in so long.
Since the BYR corporate retreat.
That is true. I was actually thinking about the last time we recorded, but we did see each other more recently than that.
It is officially season 2, yappers, of BYR. Why is that, you may ask? Because we said so.
You know what? We hit our official 3-month mark yesterday. So it is a new season. Technically,
It's summer.
it is summer. That is a fact.
Great. But I think the company retreat, in all seriousness, was very good. It was really nice for Shalini and I just to get some heads down, focus time, and actually think about the podcast, where we wanted to take it in the next couple months to a year to 5 years, if it even lasts that long.
Yeah. It was so fun to just dedicate time to how we want to make the podcast amazing. So, yappers, definitely continue giving us feedback. We love it, and we're always trying to make the show better for you.
Yeah. And maybe merch?
Yappers, let us know what merch you want to see. We were thinking, well, we had a lot of ideas, but we were thinking crew neck sweaters, sweatpants, fleece blankets,
Yeah.
fuzzy socks, that kind of thing.
What's your TV watching gear? That's what we want to make BYR swag for.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you watching TV in?
What are you wearing?
Tell me what you're wearing.
Gross. Okay, should we get started? Speaking of fans, this is our first fan-suggested show that we're going to be discussing today. So, oh wait, I had a whole intro first.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so today we'll be talking about Motorheads. Motorheads is an American coming-of-age drama about a group of high schoolers who form an unlikely friendship over their shared love of automobiles and street racing. The story centers on twins Zach and Caitlin Torres, who move with their mother, Sam Torres, to their mother's hometown of Ironwood, a faded auto town, and become entangled in its car culture. Other notable characters include their uncle Logan, their classmates Marcel, Curtis, Brooke, and high school bully Harrison Bowers. Motorheads premiered on Monday, May 20th, 2025 on Amazon Prime Video and is our first ever fan suggestion. So thank you, Ellen from Instagram, who told us about this show, and we decided to watch it for Ellen.
Yay!
Ellen.
Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you, Ellen. So Shalini, what are your overall thoughts?
You know what? I liked it a lot more than I thought I would by the end. The last show I watched was The Bear, so definitely a high bar to follow. And so I think the first episode, I was just kind of noticing all of these nitpicky things about medium to low quality television, like how the dialogue wasn't very crisp and well written. I had notes about some of the acting and stuff. But once I kind of got used to that and got past it, I really got into this teen drama about race cars. I will say I am number one hater of race car culture and like just street racing and cars in general. I hate it. And so for me to like this show, I think that says a lot.
Okay. So I'm the opposite where I don't really like high school teen dramas unless there's high school teen dramas specifically, dramas being the operative word. Because like Never Have I Ever is great and it's about high school teenagers, but it's not really a drama. It's more of a
Yeah.
comedy. So yeah, this one was I kind of had low expectations going into it. I had I had medium expectations coming out of it, I would say. We can talk about the ending later, but going back to your actors, your note about actors, so we actually do have some Netflix royalty on this show. We have Michael Cimino, who is Ethan Morales from Never Have I Ever, and he's
Yes.
the guy who plays Zach Torres. Yeah.
Yes, I recognized him.
We also have Natalie Kelly, who plays Samantha Torres, and she is from The Baker and the Beauty.
I just realized that today. I like the whole show I was watching. I was like, I know this lady, and I looked up what she was in, and she was in Vampire Diaries and a bunch of other stuff. And I was like, well, I mean, maybe I've just like picked up what she looks like from seeing stuff about these shows, but I'd never seen any of them. And then I saw on her IMDb today, Baker and the Beauty, and I was like, oh. It
Yeah.
was from this random show.
Oh yeah, and then I had another she's not Netflix royalty, but Melissa Colazzo, who plays Kaylin Torres, is from Central Florida.
Oh my God.
There's always one.
I love how you always say it like it's the most fun fact in the world.
It
I'm
is
like,
fun.
okay.
It's fun for me.
Okay, I love that for you.
Thank you. All right, that's all I had about the actor.
Oh, okay.
I guess overall thoughts for me, I feel like it had its high moments. It had some good moments. There were many moments where I also just wanted to stop watching.
Mhm.
And I really disliked the ending. It just felt like the entire series was so long and so drawn out. And
Mhm.
like in every single episode and almost every other scene, they were like, oh my God, this big race between Ethan and Harris Bowers. And then finally it happened. And it was like, it happened so fast and it like ended so terribly.
And no
And
one was
then
there.
yeah, and no one was there. Like there wasn't some long drawn out thing. And I was like what is happening here? It's
Yeah.
almost like I don't know. It's like they didn't know that there would be a season two, or maybe they did, and then they just had to wrap it up super quickly. But even the way that the pacing of the show was just all wrong. It was like molasses slow for like 6 hour long episodes. And then in the final moment, it was like, oh yeah, bing, bang, boom, boom. Okay, done. And I was like, what? That's it. I put in my notes, come on, in all caps. It can't end like that.
I agree. I definitely think this could have been 8 episodes, maybe 7 episodes, maybe, and they
5 episodes.
should have been a mini series.
Could have been a movie.
I don't think I had as much of an issue with the pacing, but I really thought episode 8, which was the homecoming dance episode, was well, yeah, I messaged you this. I was like, wait, there are 10 episodes? I thought there were only 8. I thought they were leading to episode 8 being like the big finale, and there would be a dance and there would be a race, and I thought it was gonna be the end, but then yeah, so I thought they could have condensed it a bit. Yeah.
Dude, all of these high school dramas end in like some like dance. It's like, oh, everything is about the homecoming dance or prom or something. There's some like big dance that is just the biggest milestone in this high school community that like really gets all of the storylines together in one room. And it's
Yeah.
always like that in every single high school drama.
There's so many like that. Yeah, so Ginny and Georgia had that this season.
Yeah, I think that's also what I don't really like about high school stories is that they're always centered around homecoming or prom or something, and it honestly sets unrealistic expectations for how homecoming and prom normally is.
I actually think I like high school dramas because I don't know, something about them. I just like love that everyone's forced to come together at school every day and interact and then like go have personal lives and then it's just like a forcing mechanism to bring everyone together. So I actually really like teen dramas for that reason.
I will say I like school dramas, but what I don't like is how prom is like a plot point and like what is it? Homecoming is a plot point.
Mm.
Like, think about your own prom and homecoming. Was it a major plot point in your high school career?
No, but I do think it is a major plot point in a lot of people's high school lives.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
I think that's when a lot of high schoolers lose their virginity. It's prom night.
Oh my.
Isn't that a thing?
You know what I was doing on prom night?
Tell me.
I was celebrating my wins at the state math competition. 'Cause it
You're
wasn't
literally Katie Peters from Mean Girls.
I was actually kind of pissed that our prom was the same night as our math counts competition because actually that meant that we couldn't like go to the awards ceremony and
Oh my
stuff.
God. Okay, I think you hate prom for a different reason.
So underwhelming. You know what they should have instead? Math counts
Oh
competition.
my God. Oh my God.
The whole school needs to come together and do math. Anyway,
Motorheads,
Motorheads.
huh?
Okay, I actually don't know if I should talk about this on the podcast, but I had so much trouble telling young Christian Maddox apart from Harris Bowers.
Yes, same. That's when I texted you and I was like, "Oh no, I'm having racist moments on this show." I think until episode 2, I thought the intro was about Harris Bowers.
I
And
thought
so
that
the show.
too.
Yeah. And then I was like, "Wait, that's their dad?" And they cast two people who legitimately looked so similar, playing two
Yeah.
completely different roles. It was so confusing.
It was so hard. Yeah, I wish that they looked different because at first I was like, wait, that was a flashback. Wait, is this a time travel situation?
I know. It was very confusing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the music budget for the show was through the roof.
Oh,
They
definitely.
could have cut that down by 50% and probably done better editing, I think. But yeah, it was like the first 12 minutes we got Benson Boone, Teddy Swims, and Olivia Rodrigo. And then it just continued with Lizzie McAlpine, Chapel Roan.
Yeah. Okay, one bit about the music that I wrote down. It was an I feel old moment. So they had a flashback scene where there's a girl on her bike, like biking towards 17-year-old Sam Torres, and it says 17 years ago, and the background music is Paper Planes by MIA. And she's like biking towards Sam, and then I was like, oh, Paper Planes is playing, and then she like sits down next to Sam and she takes the earbuds out of her ear, and it's like Paper Planes starts fading away, and it's like she was listening to Paper Planes 17 years ago? That can't be right. And so I looked it up. Paper Planes came out in 2008,
17 years
17
ago.
years ago.
Oh my God. Wow. Yeah. I feel old.
Yep. Yep. I was like, there's no way. Paper Planes is like 10 years ago because I'm young, right? And then I was like, Oh, no. No, not at all.
I'm not young.
Oh. Yeah, so we're basically the same age as Sam Torres.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's
Yeah.
like, I mean, she did have her children very, very young.
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah.
And okay, and then speaking of Sam Torres having her kids young, okay, so they show, I guess it must be 17 or 18-year-old Sam Torres. She's just found out she's pregnant. Um, one, Christian Maddox has already like is like in the car chase when we find out that Sam is pregnant with twins.
Mhm.
And so like so so Christian Maddox ran away from his baby mama, and his baby mama is like not just a single mother now, but also has twins. That's fucked up.
But I don't think he knew that he's a dad.
She never told him.
So I think when they show that flashback and her best friend, aka future mayor of the town, is like, "Oh, are you gonna tell everyone today?" Isn't she like, "Oh, I haven't even told him yet," or something? I thought he didn't
Yeah,
even know.
but like this is where the plot unravels because okay, I actually have so many questions about the plot at this point. Um, so here's the the timeline that happens during the car chase. Okay, so Christian Maddox gets all the guys together, drives them to the bank. While the guys are like in the bank, Christian Maddox gets a call from an anonymous person who we find out is actually Harris Bauer's dad. I've
Yes,
read his name.
Darren Bowers.
Darren. He gets a call from Darren. Darren's like, "Don't talk, just listen. This whole popsicle stand's gonna blow. You need to get out of there." And then he's like, "Oh shit." The bank robbers come in from the bank, jump into his car. The car chase is on. Somehow during the car chase, Christian texts Logan and is like, "Hey, I just got this anonymous phone call that told me that this thing is all gonna go south. I'm literally driving the car right now, and I need you to come meet me at the bridge."
Do you think he texted that before the robbers got back in the car?
Unclear, but let's say that did happen. Okay. So then he's like driving down the highway all of this time. Then Sam is like, "I'm pregnant." And then she's like watching the car chase on the TV. He does his whole move and then like drives to the bridge, crashes the car like into the water or whatever. Then everyone is swimming out. Then like they're still being chased. Christian Maddox somehow swims out and is like unseen by the police, whatever. Logan meets him at the same exact place that he told him to meet him at. Christian runs away.
Sorry.
What?
I said, meet me at our spot.
Yeah.
Out of 5.
And then Christian like takes the bags of money. Then he's like texting Sam and he's like, "Hey, meet me at a different spot. So
Meet me at our spot.
meet me at our spot at night so that we can bury the money." And then they're burying the money. And during none of this that they had together, Sam was like, "By the way, I'm pregnant with twins."
Yeah, maybe she thought she would get another chance to tell him when like they weren't burying money. Maybe?
But they had a very dramatic goodbye where he was like, "I'll come back for you." And she's like, "Do you promise? For your children? For your twins in my belly? Do you know how expensive it is to raise children?"
Okay, maybe he did know.
Okay, so that was like a huge question mark, right? Okay. In addition to that, Darren Bowers also has Harris Bowers, who is the same age as Zach and Caitlin, which means Darren also knocked up his baby mama at the same time.
Good
Sam was knocked
fucking
up.
point. Why are all these teens having babies?
At the same age.
So true.
That's why I was like, Oh, how convenient that like Darren Bowers also doesn't have a wife anymore. And then is like,
And that guy, whatever Martinez, also had a kid at 17.
oh wait, did he though? Okay, that one I wasn't too sure about because I wasn't actually clear if Ezra was the same age. Oh no, no, Ezra was I think older than a lot of them.
Oh, he was?
'Cause I think Christian Maddox was like baby driver in this scenario.
Oh, okay. So maybe he was like 22, 23.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so he's
Still,
not a teen dad.
a young dad. They're all young dads here in this town.
Okay, yes.
Yes. Yeah, so weird.
Interesting. Well, small towns, you know?
Oh wait, yeah, because wait, what the hell? Okay, because now I'm thinking about okay, so Ezra and also Ray's dad, the sheriff, was also in the car, and they had kids at the same time, or they were around the same age because Ezra was like, "Oh, my baby Ryan, like, don't you think about your kid, Ray?" Okay,
Yeah, so Ray was already born, but maybe he was also older, do you think?
so I guess Ryan's not a high school age then. Ryan must be older. By that logic, Ryan has to be older than the rest of the high school kids.
Yes, Ryan must be Ray's age, more or less.
This is like an LSAT level problem right here. Where is the logic? Something's gotta give.
I think the sheriff and Ezra Martinez were 22 or 23. Only Bowers and Christian Maddox were teenagers when they had their children.
Yes.
The end. That is
Okay.
what I think.
Okay. And
Maybe.
Ryan is in between Ray and the high school kids. So
Yes.
I thought Ray was like maybe 23, 22. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Let's say he's
Well,
like 6 years older than the children.
okay, so 23. So 23, 24.
Yeah.
So
So
I
he was like
mean,
maybe 5 or 6 when the chase happened.
yeah, that seems reasonable.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So Ryan's
Glad we
like 20.
figured this out. Yeah.
Okay, we figured it out. LSAT
Which
level.
means she would be basically a baby when the chase happened.
Yes. Yes. But then he spent 2 decades in prison, so like, and she still seems to have a good relationship with her dad.
I guess 2 decades. It couldn't have been exactly 2 decades because we know that that happened 17 years ago.
Yeah, so he was just he was in prison for 17 years.
Yeah.
And they just had a good relationship when he was in prison, I guess.
I guess she was already born, so her mom was like, hey, go visit your dad.
Yeah, I guess.
I guess.
Okay, great. Glad we figured that out. Here's another logical inconsistency.
Oh no.
When they pulled the bike out of the water, so I think this was in the second episode, Curtis's bike is like launched into the water during some like party the night before, and Zach, Curtis, and Marcel go to Alicia's place the day after to go fish his bike out of the water. And the scene is like they're just showing the bike, they're like pulling this like rope and the bike like comes out of the water and like all of them are dry. And I'm like, who hooked the bike up to the rope with which you are pulling? The bike?
Very good question. I don't have an answer for that one.
Great. So I think this is the kind of stuff, like this is the kind of attention to detail that I feel like did not, like you said, 50% of the music budget could have been a better consistent watching experience, logical, consistent watching experience.
Yeah, yeah. My other kind of criticism around that. So obviously this is not a cinematic masterpiece, nor do I think anyone expects it to be. But you know how in the Echo Valley episode my sister was talking about how ever since she watched Severance and listened to the Prestige podcast, she thinks a lot about like what dialogue is necessary versus unnecessary in a show. And so I that really stuck out to me at the beginning of this show. So in episode 1, for example, Marcel and Logan are talking about like blah blah blah, like your signature logo.
Oh
And
yeah.
he's like, this is your signature logo, like just for exposition. And then later he's like, you should put your signature logo on this one too. And it's like that entire exchange was unnecessary. Like if he had just said, oh, you should put your logo on this one too, like that, it would have been equivalent. And
And also,
then,
it never came up again.
yeah,
His
never
signature
came up.
logo.
I
They
think
couldn't
maybe
figure it
that
out.
was just a setup for Marcel creating his own signature logos or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh.
I agree with you. It was so weird. The way that they just kept saying signature logo. I was like, oh, we get it, but like it sounds so corporate for a
Yeah.
car world, you know?
Yeah. And then the other dialogue that was kind of the same issue of just unnecessary words like between people. When the family first arrives to Logan's garage and Caitlin is like, did dad jump too? And then her mom's like, Kate. And she's like, what? I can't even ask a simple question like that? And then spends the next two conversations talking about how she can't ask questions about her dad. It's like we would have gotten all of that just by her mom going, Kate, you
Yeah.
know? Like just yeah. So those are my complaints about the editing.
I think in defense, maybe if I had any explanation for this, it would mean that they probably assumed that the target demographic for this drama is a little bit younger, and so
And
that's
not
why.
seasoned television critics.
Yeah, they probably okay, they did not expect people to also have watched Severance, I would say. I think the Venn diagram of Severance watchers and Motorheads watchers is two people.
You and me.
And maybe Ellen would have watched Severance.
Maybe
She's a
Ellen.
rapper, so
Okay, fair, fair. Yeah, totally fair. That's a very good point. It's made for children. That makes sense.
yeah. The other thing that I had issue with was the the relationships themselves between the characters. I thought it was very strange how they were like very hot and cold, it felt. So one
Mm.
example of this was Zach's relationship with Alicia. So when they first met, Zach's like giving her eyes, like putting the Mac on. He's like, oh, she's like kind of hot and she's got it going on. And then they like kind of chat, and then there's a whole scene where they are talking at the diner, and I think this is like a couple exchanges later. They're like talking at the diner, and then Zach's like, oh, here's your milkshake, Harris. And he's like, this is strawberry. I asked for vanilla. And then he was like, did you? Or are you just calling Brooke a liar? And I was like, okay, well, first of all, that's like really intense. And then Alicia was like, you should change his milkshake order. She was kind of mean to Zach. And then I was like, wait, this is so weird. And then literally in the next scene, Harris was distracted by something and runs outside. And then Zach and Alicia are like, sitting next to each other talking about the movie that they're watching or something. And I'm like, what? Like, you were so mean to him in that previous scene, and then you just like moved on?
Oh
Did I
my
misread
gosh.
this? I was really confused.
I remember that scene, but I don't remember what her reaction was to the exchange between Harris and Zach. But I didn't remember her defending Harris.
Yeah, she defended Harris.
Weird.
I don't know if it was, yeah, I don't know what it was, but it was like in a very like oh, maybe you can just change the milkshake or something. But like,
Maybe it was like a peacekeeping, like Zach just changed the order or something.
yeah, but like more on Harris's side. Anyway, that was one example.
Weird.
Another example was the Caitlin Curtis, and then I forgot her name. Abby? No, Kiara?
What?
Kiara.
Oh, the gay girl.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was really confused with the Caitlin Curtis Kiara plotline because I didn't really understand how Kiara had such a thing for Caitlin after
I
one
know.
conversation.
I know this the entire show. I was like, who is the girl that she's in love with? Like, I don't understand. They haven't shown anything. And I was like, oh, it's Caitlyn? What?
Wait, what? You didn't know?
Because I was like, they haven't really talked at all. They don't hang out. They've had, yeah, like you said, two conversations. I'm like, this can't possibly be the reason she's questioning her entire sexuality.
Exactly. I was like, what is going on? And then also, I was confused about Caitlyn because I
Yeah,
was
me
like,
too.
is Caitlyn,
Into
I
her?
mean, yeah, is Caitlyn into her? Is Caitlyn into Curtis? Or like, is Caitlyn gay? And that's why she's like, oh yeah, normally I would go for someone like Kiara, but Curtis, he's just so manly or something like that. I was very confused about what they were doing with Caitlyn. And I guess what they were trying to say is, oh, Caitlyn's confused too, which I was like, okay, I guess I kind of get that, maybe, but the way that they showed it was super weird, and I just was not convinced by Caitlyn and Kiara's relationship whatsoever.
No, they definitely did not spend enough time on it for there to be a question about Caitlyn's sexuality and for Kiara to be so in love with her and like sad about her kissing someone else. There was definitely, they did not put enough of that in there for that to be earned at all.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
strange.
And I don't even think that's the reason she turned down Curtis in the beginning, right? Like
You
that was the
how
question I had. I was like, why did she even turn down Curtis in the first place? Like she's obviously into him. She invited him to a party that he never goes to. Like she made him be her lab partner or whatever. She's obviously into him. And why is she like, oh, we should just be friends?
Yeah, I was so confused by that. I was like, it's pretty clear that you like him, but you're
Yeah,
still confused by it, maybe. But I don't know why, and I don't think you know why either.
I don't know why.
So strange.
Okay, one about the car, the banana yellow race car.
On bio?
Yes! That was my note. I thought it was unbio the entire time, and then they were like, blah, 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 unbeaten. And I was like, unbeaten. Oh!
Oh my gosh. So I was watching it with boyfriend Andrew, and in the first episode it was like they showed the license plates and I was like, "Oh, on bio?" Then I laughed because I think in my mind I was like, "Oh, haha, on B10." And then like in episode 4 or something we see unbeaten again and I was like, haha, unbio. And then I think one of the characters said unbeaten. And then Andrew was like, oh, it's unbeaten. I was like, yeah.
Oh, so you understood it. You were just making fun of it.
Yeah, yeah. I was just like, oh, I don't get it, unbio.
That's funny.
Yeah. Okay, how old is Logan? Because I thought that Logan was Christian Maddox's younger brother, and then they had the flashback scene, and I was like, oh, that's cute. Christian Maddox is being taught by his dad. And then and then they came back from the flashback, and Logan was like, and that's how I taught Christian how to drive. And I was like, that was you?
Yeah, I guess he is older. I also like he was giving younger sibling vibes, I thought. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess he was older.
I think it's because he gives Short King vibes.
That's true. He does give Short King vibes. Oh, another thing about him is that why did he have a different accent than every other person that grew up in Ironwood?
Damn, got him. It's because he's so old.
Oh, they phased out that accent after his generation.
Yeah, it's because everyone in Ironwood has kids when they're 17, so they're pretty young. But he's the only guy who didn't have kids, slash, is maybe, I don't know, 80 at this point. Who even knows? So his accent is from the 1920s.
For those races where Ray wins a car or loses a car, etc., this seems to happen quite often. Are they going to the DMV and transferring the title and registration each time? What do you think?
No, absolutely not. They're
How are
criminals.
how are they doing this?
They just swap keys.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
There's no paperwork
I
for
don't
the
think
car?
there's no time for paperwork when keys are swapping hands all over the place. Who even knows?
How valuable is it to have a car that's inherently slower than the car that you currently have?
You can swap it.
Like you have to beat someone. Oh, like you can intentionally lose a race and give it away or what?
Oh, I don't know. But okay, but here's the thing. It's like, at what point is it actually driver's skill versus like car engine skill? Not even skill. Like max capacity of your engine.
Yeah, I'm not the right person to be answering this question because as I said, I'm a race car hater, number one hater of race car culture.
So I tried asking Andrew a couple of these questions, and so he has a couple of notes. So this is our Andrew's notes segment.
Okay.
Okay, so call to authority. Andrew has been in autocross in Austin and the Bay Area and has a Mazda Miata and is very much entrenched in the car culture. So that's his.
Oh, sorry, Andrew. I've been insulting
Oh
you.
no, it's okay. That's his area of expertise. So yeah, it's he does autocross, which is like you just like go around a track and it has like bumps and stuff. Um, and it's also like a time trial thing. I don't think you're racing anyone. And he finds that drag racing is the most boring form of car racing because you're just like going straight. And so it's very boring as a driver. And so this is where I raised the question of how much of it is actual driver skill because you're literally just going straight and you're not turning or anything. So
Yeah. I think
yeah.
there's something to be said about like when you shift gears and being smart about that. But I don't know how much that comes into play or like once you know that it's more about the car. I don't know.
I guess. Anyway, so in that last okay, this is what he told me to say. So in that last race where it's Zach versus Harris Bowers, Andrew says, "Ah, an old Challenger versus a new Challenger," as in Dodge Challenger, I think, the type of car.
Okay.
Okay, so he says, gonna sound like it's such a fucking nerd. Okay. He says, "There's no way a naturally aspirated engine would win against a forced induction supercharged engine." As in, there's no way the old Challenger would win against the new Challenger. So
Okay.
that's what he says. And to which I say,
Right.
I'm just gonna say that.
Sounds good. All right, you heard it here first, folks. The cars and the race and the results were not biblically accurate.
Biblically. Biblically. And then I also asked about the final scene where Harris Bowers drives over the pothole, gets flipped upside down, and then spontaneously combusts. And I asked Andrew, has that ever happened to you? And would that ever happen in real life? And he says, I don't think a car would catch on fire just because it's upside down.
Yeah, I agree. I actually read once or saw a Mythbusters or something about how they always show cars blowing up after it's crashed into something, but that like is not possible, I think. I don't think that happens.
Yeah. Okay, great.
But it's just like a TV and movie staple at this point that when a car crashes, it's it's a ticking time bomb.
Okay, another car joke that Andrew got that I did not get, but was when they steal all of the cars out of Bruce Whitaker's
Yeah.
car collection. They stole four cars. One of them is a Ferrari. And so apparently Ferraris are notoriously brittle, where they just like break like very quickly. And so when Bruce finds out that his cars have been stolen, they were like, he comes back and he's like, they stole four of my cars, but they left the Ferrari down the street. And so I think the implication is there that the Ferrari just broke, like immediately after leaving the garage or something. So
You think people that didn't know about Dodge Challenger engines knew that Ferraris notoriously break down?
I think so. I think there are tiers of
Okay.
knowledge. I think
All
there are
right.
tiers of knowledge
And
here.
that's like a level 1 tier of knowledge that Ferraris break down easily.
I think so. I can see people who watch, like F1 the movie or even the F1 reality series being like, "Oh, Ferraris, they just break super easily."
All right, great.
Whatever. I don't know.
I don't know.
Ellen, why? Why did you tell us to watch this show?
Ellen, we liked it. I just hate cars. Oh, when we should have brought in a car expert for this show. When they were talking about how the last things that weren't working in the car were the radio and turn signal for Unbeaten. How much does radio and turn signal matter for a racing car?
That's a good point. I think I also had issue where Caitlin knows the ins and outs of this 72 whatever Challenger to the point that she can identify like on site what a pitman arm like a compatible pitman arm actually looks like.
Mhm.
And she cannot put together the horn button. She has to watch a YouTube video for that.
Maybe because it's so uninteresting that she never took the time to learn it versus like the interesting under the hood stuff.
I do like that explanation.
But do we think the writers thought that?
Not sure. But I just don't like that it could be potential sexism where they're like, "Oh, Caitlin knows everything. Let's make her relatable and human," and say that, "Oh, she has to watch a YouTube video to install the horn button."
I don't think I wouldn't think that at all because she clearly knew the most about the inside of cars compared to all of the other boys in that garage. And
Hmm.
like even Curtis, who like put together his own motorcycle, he was like, I've watched so many YouTube videos. So I don't think they were trying to dumb her down. I think they were just trying to come up with something that she couldn't do herself and needed help with. And they came up with the horn button as something that could be something that she needs help with. I don't know.
Mhm. Like it was like, "Oh, she needs help. She needs Curtis's help with something." And so, but she's not going to spend any time on anything that's not car related. So it has to be a super tangential car related thing.
That's what I would think. Yeah.
Okay, because the way, I don't know, the way that I was looking at that horn button, I was like, this has got to be on par with like changing the AC cabin filter or something. You can do that, no tools, simple. Like I did that in 2 seconds. So,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they chose that, but I really don't think it was a sexist thing because they continuously showed her as the expert when it comes to the inside of a car. So,
I guess the other issue that I had is why, and I guess they kind of explored this at the end, but why couldn't she just have been the driver? So it sounds like, Christian Maddox, he had everything maybe. I mean, I'm not sure how much he was actually involved in like putting the car together, but obviously was a great driver, but it seemed like they really took the skills of an auto person and kind of just split it into two. They're like, "Oh, Caitlin is the mechanic. She knows everything and the ins and outs and everything about this car, but she doesn't like driving. And Zach knows nothing, and he likes driving." And so
yeah. I actually had a note about this about something that I liked about the show was that I thought they did a good job connecting both twins to their dad in different ways that was all about car racing. And
Mhm.
I thought it felt pretty natural, like that she loved being the engineer of the car, mechanic, but she doesn't need to be in the spotlight. Whereas Zach kind of liked that culture and being the racer and having
Mhm.
all eyes on him, but he didn't want to do the work behind it necessarily. That's just not where his passion comes in. So I thought it made sense that their personalities were different in that way. I'm not sure how much Christian worked on his own car, but I think it would also make sense canonically if Logan was the Caitlyn in the sibling relationship and Christian was the Zach, where Logan did all the work on the car and then Christian was the one that raced it.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I like the way that you phrase that, where they are finding their connection to their dad through the ways that they approach the car scene in different ways. So I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that's a good explanation.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, so the plot point that I had was, why was Sam so surprised that Christian had met up with Logan if she literally helped him bury the money after the heist?
I don't know. Maybe she was like, I thought I was the only one he met up with, or something. I don't know.
I mean, because also when Christian was running away from Logan, it was like full on sunlight. And when she when and when Christian and Sam are bearing the money, it is like nighttime. So it is conceivable that Christian would have met up with many people over the course of those hours. So why was Sam like, you saw Christian after the car chase?
Yeah, there were hours between the car chase and you seeing him. That's
Yeah,
so
exactly. So it's like, yeah, why wouldn't he go see his brother? Like, so weird.
yeah.
So strange. I don't know.
Wow.
Plot hole. And then the other thing about Sam is that the part where she like got the 2-for-1 garden shovels, and then he was like, garden shovels? And then she was like, yeah, it was a deal. 2-for-1. And then I was like, what? Like, Sam is not that dumb to not understand that the garden shovels won't be enough. That was a lot of negatives, but you understand what I'm saying, right? She was smart enough to
Yeah.
understand like what a good shovel would be.
A, she's an ER nurse. B, she's the one that buried the money.
Yeah.
She knows what shovel she needs.
And then speaking of ER nurse, she is drinking bourbon in the middle of the day at a random bar as an ER nurse and the mother of
Oh,
twins, a single
I mean,
mother of twins.
nurses have like abnormal shift hours. Maybe she was working the night shift and then was like, all right, it's my
Let's
time off.
have a shot beforehand.
Maybe she had the next 2 days off. I think they work like 3 12-hour shifts and then have 4 days off or something.
Okay, okay. We'll give her that, sure.
Also, about her being an ER nurse, no ER nurse would let their children do anything with cars, I think. Even learn how to race, not even actually race. I
Yeah.
don't think. Ugh, this is one of my complaints about race cars is that it's so dangerous. And for what? Like, play a sport. Yeah.
But also, I mean, I think she probably let him race because, his dad was a racer and also she was a racer.
An ER nurse would never be a racer, I don't think. And an ER nurse, even if she was a racer and then became an ER nurse, she would never let her child race because I mean, she said it herself. She's like, I'm gonna see you on the inside of my ER. Like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
that would never happen, I don't think.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, okay, speaking of doing sports, I have a joke. Do you think he was a fan of the Redbirds because it's a cardinal?
Yes. Good job.
Okay, thanks.
Well done.
Thank you.
We're like, what bird can we come up with that's related to cars?
Cardinal.
Ordinal.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to talk about was how could Logan be so dumb to not put together Spider Lake, Michigan is like where Christian Maddox actually is.
I know that the Spider Lake thing, when he said it, like they used to go to Spider Lake as kids, as if it was a huge reveal. And it's like, you knew about this place the whole time?
Yeah.
That
And
was
then
so dumb.
when he like saw when they like dug up the money or where the money was, and then he saw that picture of them in Spider Lake, he was like, "Oh, wow. Isn't that crazy? Like another reference to Spider Lake." Put two and two together, bro.
No.
He's there.
So dumb. So dumb.
But then also, okay, I guess like the other thing is when Caitlin calls Spider Lake question mark or calls the number on the card, I guess.
Hmm.
And then a woman picks up and then she's like, I'm looking for Christian Maddox. He's my dad. And then the voice just hangs up on her. What's that about?
I think that's what they wanted to leave the cliffhanger about when she gets a call back.
Hmm. Do you think it's Christian Maddox's new bae? And then new bae is like, ugh, it's Christian's lame daughter with Sam.
Yeah, I do think that.
Ugh, so
That's my
lame.
guess. That's my guess.
Okay, so then set up for season two. The questions that we need answers to are where is Christian Maddox? Spider Lake. Is he gonna come back? Um, Sam Torres has a romantic relationship lead up with Darren Bowers and probably also Christian Maddox when he comes back in season two.
Yes. I also wasn't sure if they were showing that she and Logan were like kind
I
of
was
romantic vibes.
I was also confused by that. That was like one of the bullets I put down. I'm like, is she gonna hook up with his brother?
Which reminded me of Ransom Canyon.
Oh
Where,
my
like,
God.
she's been in love with her best friend's or best friend's husband for so long.
Yeah. Oh, so weird. Okay, so those two things. Then we have Caitlin and Curtis's relationship.
Caitlin and Curtis, let's talk about this for a second. Why would it matter if Curtis's dad was in the front seat with her dad? Why does that have any importance in their relationship?
That's also what I was gonna say. Like when they were having their whole dramatic thing, and he's like, I wish I could have taken a picture of you, babe, because you're never gonna look at me the same again. I was like, and then he like tells her, I was like, so? Like,
Literally, so what?
yeah,
Literally, so what?
Because my daddy told your daddy that actually my daddy needed to rob a bank so that your daddy wouldn't get in trouble.
and I was like, come on.
Yeah, it made no sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then Brooke and Marcel.
Friends?
Also
Just friends?
friends, maybe. I don't know. I feel like there's something romantic teeing up there.
I kind of like
Uh,
them for each other.
Yeah, I think so too. Also, when Brooke was showing Marcel pictures of her apartment for her winter break internship, also, what is that?
Also, she's a child?
Yeah, also, like, who works during winter break?
No one works during winter break. There is no way she would be in that Brooklyn apartment by herself as a minor.
Yeah.
See how much, Ruchi, you've lived in Brooklyn. How much would that giant lofted Brooklyn apartment cost?
I
Probably not something people in Ironwood, Pennsylvania could afford. Am I right?
I saw that too, and I literally wrote that down, and I was like, okay, wait, let me see what I wrote. I wrote, oh, please, that is not her apartment for an internship with industrial windows. Come on. Sub-bullet, she better be in deep, deep Brooklyn. And then I said, another sub-bullet, have you ever heard of a winter break design internship? Isn't that like 3 weeks, including Christmas and New Year's?
I think in high school my winter break was 2 weeks.
Okay, so yeah, like who is hiring a high school kid and like paying for them to come live in this apartment in Brooklyn for like 3 weeks? You can't get anything done in 3 weeks. What? She's gonna get kidnapped. This is sex trafficking. I'm now worried for Brooke. I'm glad
Oh.
Marcel is going.
Marcel, keep her safe.
Yeah.
I feel bad that all we've done is shit on this show.
Oh, I'm not.
I don't know. I don't know what to do about it, but I feel bad.
I think you had some good points.
Okay.
I think we'll turn it around at the end.
Okay.
Oh, I also laughed that when Ezra got out of prison, he didn't want to stay in Ironwood because there are, quote, 2 yoga studios on Main Street.
This town's gone soft.
Yeah, I was like, first of all, why wouldn't you want to live in the same town as your kid, no matter how many yoga studios are on Main Street? And like, why would anyone like reject a town because of it's too nice? Like, I don't understand that.
I don't know. I mean, like a grizzled, I don't know. I don't know. But speaking of parents that don't want their kids, that was very sad about Marcel's mom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually really happy that Logan and Sam both went and drove, what was it, like 4 hours? 4 hours and back to go meet with Marcel's mom, confirm that she was indeed a piece of shit, and then came back and was like, nope, you're living with us.
Yeah.
And how they didn't tell Marcel.
Yeah. That reminds me of a plot in Gilmore Girls where Jess is staying with his uncle Luke in Stars Hollow, and then Luke is like bragging to Lorelai. He's like, I have figured out the secret of parenting, and Lorelai's like, okay, I need to hear this. And he's like, all you do is tell a little white lie to help them. And she's like, what? And he's like, I told him that his mom really wanted him to come home for Christmas, but in reality she didn't want him to come home. And then Lorelai's like, he knew that she didn't want him there. So that made me think about whether Marcel kind of knew in the bottom of his heart.
It feels like he probably did. And also because even after they told him, Zach and Caitlin were like, oh,
Yeah.
she didn't want him, right? And
Yeah.
So it felt like one of those, we all know what's really going on, but we're not going to say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, this is about management positions. So one question, where is the manager of this diner? Why does it all fall on the shoulders of two 17-year-olds to keep it going? We did not
Good
see Brooke's
question.
parents one time.
Brooke's parents, where are you?
I also didn't know how Wade lost his diner in the first place.
I think they did mention it, but I don't remember. Like maybe it foreclosed or something. Like he couldn't afford to keep it open.
But the chili was so popular.
Oh yeah, okay. Wade, the father of Marcel, lost ownership of the diner due to it being lost to the bank.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Restaurant businessman. Margins are razor thin.
Razor thin.
And then my second management point was Willie's racetrack owner does not seem like the type of guy who would put strobe lights and extra jumps on this track. He's so much more intense than that.
He's like, let me add some strobe lights for ambiance.
Yeah, I was okay. If I just saw the track, I would imagine that the owner of that track would be like, "Hell yeah, dudes, you want to come on board and like get this truck rolling? It's gonna be so great." And instead, what we got was, "You're gonna die, and you need to sign away your rights." I was like, something's not right here. Yeah, rip.
Rep.
I'm ready for the exercise.
Oh, okay. This is a fuck, marry, kill. First for Curtis, Zach, and Marcel.
Easy.
All right, go.
Fuck Zach. marry Marcel, kill Curtis.
Wow. Wow. I would marry Curtis. The teen in me was in love with Curtis. So marry Curtis, fuck Zach, kill Marcel. Sorry, Marcel. Love you though.
Oh, I think he's just such a cute little dweeb.
I
He
know.
would treat me right.
It's true. And then I also wanted to do it for Darren Bowers, Logan, and rich guy. What's his name? Daddy Whitaker.
Daddy Whitaker. Okay, I think I would. Man, I gotta think about this one. Okay, so we have Daddy Whitaker, Logan, and
Daddy Bowers.
Daddy Bowers. I really got to think about this. So, I guess pros of marrying Daddy Whitaker is that he is also a lovable nerd who is also hella rich and business minded. So, he's got that going for him. Logan, honestly, I'm leaning kill on Logan. I think, and then for Daddy Bowers, he's also kind of rich, but he seems kind of dumb too. But he seems like a nice guy, so kill Logan, fuck Daddy Bowers, marry Daddy Whitaker.
I think I would do the same, mostly for Whitaker's money, and Daddy Bowers is like kind of hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Logan.
Sorry,
We
Logan.
don't know where you're from because we don't think it's Ironwood.
And we also don't know how old you are.
Yappers, tell us what you would vote. Okay, I think should we do ratings?
Yeah.
I'll go first. I would rate this a 6.
Yeah. I was gonna say 6.5.
Yeah. I think it was not unwatchable, but there were definitely a lot of points where I was like, "Huh? But wait, what? Why would this character act this way?" So, I think in like not a good way and not like an intriguing like why would this character act this way? It was just like, why would they? Yeah, so I think it was overall a 6. But do you think you'll watch season 2?
Not unless Yappers beg us to. So, Yappers, if you want it, let us know.
Yeah. Oh, yes. We also found out very recently, I think within the last couple of days, that Motorheads is renewed for season 2. However, it's also on Amazon Prime Video. And as we know, a previous episode that we did on Etoile, they had ordered 2 seasons and then randomly canceled the second season. So who knows? Maybe
You never know.
you never know. Maybe this means we'll actually get a season 2. Unclear. But as always, with all of our TV shows, the thing that affects if a show gets a second season is if you actually watch it. So if you want there to be a Motorhead season 2 for sure, then go watch Motorhead season 1 on Amazon Prime Video.
And continuously binge it until their numbers skyrocket.
And binge us too.
And then continuously binge us.
Yeah.
All right.
Binge in progress?
Oh, yeah. Binge in progress. I am watching Survivor 16 with my sister. This is the fans versus favorites season, and I just watched this dominant all-female alliance just like dominate and slowly pick off the men one by one. It's crazy. I've never seen such crazy things happening on Survivor. It's like they literally they are like sirens. They go up to the men and just say, "Hey, you should do this." And the men are like, "I should do this." And it's like, "Dude, what are you doing?" Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's been very, very fun to watch. I also watched The Shining, the movie, with my sister over the course of this past weekend. I recently read the book, and I must say, despite the critical acclaim for the Shining movie, it did not live up to the book at all. I thought so many things were confusing and not well explained. And like my sister has not read the book, we watched the movie together, and she was like, that wasn't like really that scary. I'm more just kind of confused. And I was like, yeah, they didn't explain anything. So, yappers, if you're deciding between the book or the movie for The Shining, definitely read the book. And apparently, Stephen King hated the movie so much, he made a new mini-series for The Shining because he thought the interpretation in the movie was so bad.
Oh, wow. Wait, where can you watch the miniseries?
The miniseries, I think you can rent on Amazon Prime Video. And the movie, if you must, you can also rent on Prime Video, Apple TV, Plex, like a bunch of places.
Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting. Maybe it was just because it was like new for the time or something. Like people had never really seen something like that
Maybe.
before.
Yeah, I do think it probably like set the scene for visual psychological thrillers or
Mm,
set a precedent for that type of movie.
mm. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I finished Squid Game season 3. Um, The ending, okay, I think like doing this podcast as well as like kind of now tracking how shows getting like randomly canceled or randomly getting renewed on different platforms is really interesting because now I kind of see this like catch-22 situation that writers are forced into all the time where they can't write themselves into a corner and like really give the viewers a good ending because then if it's too good of an ending then the platform will be like, okay, we want 3 more seasons of your show. And then they'll be like, well, what are we going to write for 3 more seasons? Like we like tied it up with a bow and it's done. But then if they leave it too ambiguous, then nobody's going to like it. And then they won't ever watch it, which means that their show will be canceled. So then like you can't win in this situation. And you're like forced into having somewhat open-ended seasons so that if there is another Squid Game season 4, for example, you could potentially write about something because you have some threads loose still. So I don't know.
I feel like there are a lot of shows that have really good endings but also end on a cliffhanger.
What's an example?
Like Severance, for example. Like such a great last episode, and it really makes you want to watch the next season.
Yeah, but I think Severance is one of those things that it's like so popular. It's like White Lotus, right? It's like so popular that you know it's gonna have another season.
They didn't know that there would be a season 2 when when they put out season 1.
That's true. And what did you think about the season 1 ending?
I thought it made me really excited for season 2.
Yeah, well, anyway, I think like the endings of seasons are, I don't know, it's so difficult to create like just the right amount of intrigue and like the universe can still continue or it could end here and that would also be okay. So
Mm,
I think it was the same thing with Squid Game season 3. I think they gave it enough of a good ending that if it did end there completely, it would be fine. But
mm.
also, they do have more things to explore in season 4, if there is one.
Okay.
So anyway, I finished that, and then I also have been watching Queer Love Ultimatum, The Ultimatum Queer Love. That's been pretty good. I'm like halfway through the reunion. And I enjoy queer love dating reality shows a lot more than I enjoy heterosexual ones, to be honest.
Interesting. How come?
I feel like they're such better communicators. I think part of being queer is that you have to be so in touch with your feelings to understand who you're attracted to just from a young age and how that's different from anyone else and then how to articulate that to other people and then how to actually like navigate that world that no one has really shown you or like you haven't really seen that yourself, so you have to kind of figure it out yourself. And so I think as a result there's a lot more better communication. People can clearly articulate their wants and needs. They can clearly see when things are not like where they need to be. And as a result, it's not as like toxic and aggressive as like normal reality shows are. So, yeah, it's been good. It feels like a more sophisticated dating reality show.
Interesting. Do you think that would also be true for an all-male queer dating show? Or do you think that's just the women that are super in touch with their feelings?
That's a good question. I think an all-male dating show would be fun to watch in a different way.
Mm.
Maybe they wouldn't be good communicators, or maybe they would be. I'm not sure, actually.
Hmm.
That's a good
Yeah.
question. Because now I'm thinking about 4 Seasons where Danny was not really a good communicator, but also he was a fictional character. So
And
you can't really
Raoul
tell.
was such a good communicator.
Yeah, true. I would have to imagine that they're probably still better communicators than straight men on average. Yappers, let us know if you disagree. Oh, yeah, and I guess just a reminder of our episode schedule. So, just as a reminder, we are doing episodes now every Thursday, but you will still get the occasional bonus episode on a Tuesday, maybe, if there's something that Shalini or I really want to do. So, stay tuned.
Yes. Yay! Thanks for yapping with us. If you loved this episode, have some hot takes we missed, or if you've got a show you're dying for us to binge next, follow us on socials. We're at Binge Yap Repeat.
Until next time, happy binging!